Burnt toast was just the warm-up. Watch how I turned my wife's double cross into a silent, coded takedown that flipped an industry and left the snakes wishing they'd never hissed. I stood still, gawking at the crispy black ruins of what was meant to be my morning meal. At 42, I ain't rich by any stretch, but I've scratched out a cozy little life as a senior software developer at TechCore Solutions. Truth is, my real hustle kicks in when the clock strikes midnight. I sink hours into piecing together fancy code for Anya's fashion tech outfit, Styleverse, my wife's big dream. Then came the sharp clack of heels on the kitchen tile, yanking me out of my zone. Anya charged in, a storm of pricey perfume and fierce determination. She's a knockout. Those cutting features popped with perfect makeup, her dark hair swept up in a slick twist that screamed effort. "Liam, where's my presentation binder?" she barked, digging through the mess of papers on the counter like a wildcat. "And you better have called about the catering for the launch." I fished out a sleek black binder from under the pile. "It's right here," I said, steady as a rock despite the weariness dragging me down. "Catering set for next Thursday. Took care of it yesterday." "What about the venue lights? Julian say anything?" "Sorted," I cut in, a little sharpness sneaking into my tone at that name. "Julian Vance, the slick new investor at Styleverse. I synced up with the tech crew last week." Anya stopped her rampage, finally eyeing me square. Her face eased up for a heartbeat, but there was a cunning flicker in those eyes. "What did I do without you?" she tossed out, sounding more like she was talking to herself. I still remember when that look she gave me was pure awe, not this offhand shrug. 7 years back, at a tech meetup down the road, she'd zeroed in on me after my AI talk, hooked by my quiet smarts and geeky tricks. Her questions felt real then, her ambition kinda cute instead of a steamroller. "You'd get by," I fired back, letting some weight slip into my words. "You always do." Her phone buzzed, and she pounced on it like a hawk. A grin lit her up as she read the screen. "Julian snagged another investor lead," she crowed, voice all breathy like it got whenever he was the topic. "He's lining up breakfast with him." I clocked how she practically glowed at Julian Vance's name. That venture capital hotshot rolled into our lives a year ago, tossing cash at Styleverse when it was gasping for air. Since then, Anya's late nights at the office stacked up, her stories got fuzzier, and her affection turned into quick pecks. "What about our code review this morning?" I asked, keeping my cool even as a slow burn started inside. "The AI engine's still rough around the edges for the launch." She brushed it off with a wave. "Can't we just do it tonight? This investor could seal our big expansion." "Our expansion," I muttered, catching how easy "R" rolled off her tongue when it was her and Julian. "Yeah, go for it." She snatched her designer bag and keys, barely glancing my way. "Don't forget my dry cleaning. Darling, the black Valentino's gotta be sharp for Thursday's pitch." As she bolted for the door, I hollered, "Anya." She whipped around, irritation plastered on her face. "Dinner tonight still on?" "Might be late," she snapped. "Don't wait up." The door slammed shut, leaving me with the sour whiff of burnt toast and her lingering perfume. I grabbed my phone and flicked to my hidden email, one she don't know about. 3 new notes from my PI spelled out her week: long lunches, late-night meetings, and a photo of her and Julian slipping into a ritzy hotel downtown. That gnawing feeling in my chest hardened into something cold and solid. I ain't the guy to lose it or get sloppy. Liam Hayes don't play that way. I'm all about sizing things up, plotting smart, and hitting hard when it's time. I popped open my laptop and started tapping, sliding into Styleverse guts with the admin keys I'd baked in from day one. A ping lit my screen. A fresh text from Julian to Anya, sent minutes ago. "Can't wait to wow the new investors with her vision. You're unreal. Dinner tonight?" My fingers hovered. 7 years married, and I never once raised my voice at her or showed the steel I keep under wraps. She's pegged my quiet for weakness, my help for groveling. Julian's bought the same line, seeing me as some nerdy tool to milk and ditch. They're in for a wake-up call. Morning ticked by as I logged every chat, every deal, every whispered late-night word between months of dirt stacking into a digital hammer. My phone kept buzzing with PI updates, each one locking in what I already knew. Anya's drifting, not cause I slipped, but cause she's picking this betrayal herself. At TechCore, I kept my routine smooth, hit meetings, checked code, coached the rookies. Nobody'd guess I was quietly kicking off a slow-burn payback under the surface. My coworkers just saw the same old me, the quiet, sharp coder they've always known. "Hey, Liam," Sarah from HR said, swinging by my desk. "How's Anya's startup shaping up? Gotta be a thrill with the launch so close." I shot her a careful grin. "Real exciting. It's all coming together smooth." Sarah nodded, all peppy-like. "She's darn lucky to have you backing her up. Not a lot of guys would pour so much into their wife's dream like that." "I'm all for lifting up the ones I care about," I answered, picking my words slow and deliberate. "And I reckon folks who stomp on that deserve what's coming." Her smile wobbled a bit at the chill in my voice, but she bounced back quick. "Well, you two are something else. Hope I catch you both at the launch." As she strolled off, I turned back to my screen, face steady as ever. Code zipped by, not tech-core stuff, but a slick setup I'd built to watch and steer every inch of Styloverse guts. I'd tucked secret doors into all their systems, rigged switches that'd flip with one tap. The day dragged on, and Anya didn't buzz me once. Come 6, I packed up, swung by to grab her dry cleaning like she asked, and headed home. The place was dark when I pulled in, just like I figured. I hung her Valentino dress up neat and settled into my home office, tweaking my plans for hours. At 11, the front door swung open. Anya's laugh floated up the stairs, chased by a deeper tone that made my hands freeze on the keys. I caught the sound of 2 pairs of shoes clomping inside, heading for the kitchen. Glasses clinked, more chuckles spilled out, and soft chatter hummed below. I got up quiet, slipped to the top of the stairs, and stuck to the shadows. Through the kitchen door, I spied Anya and Julian, cozied up with wine in hand. His arm looped around her waist, his face dipping close to whisper something that set her giggling. "We ought to be careful," Anya murmured, though she didn't budge an inch from him. "Liam might walk in." Julian let out a smug snort. "Your little code puppy? Give me a break. He's probably still at the office, tapping away like a good boy." "He's pretty pitiful, huh?" Anya's voice rang clear up the stairs, sharp and mean. "Always trying so hard to impress me, dull as dirt. Not like you, Julian." I watched him tug her tighter, hands claiming her hips. "You need more than that, darling. Someone who gets your drive, your spark. Once Styleverse hits, we'll have it all." "Everything we want," Anya echoed, tipping her face up to his with a sly little smirk. "I'm dying for it." Their kiss was all heat, no holding back, packed with the fire she hadn't shown me in months. I stood there, cool as a cucumber, soaking in every rotten detail. Then, quiet as a ghost, I slipped back to my office and cracked open my laptop. My fingers zipped across the keys, kicking off the first step of my scheme. Deep in Styloverse systems, my hidden tricks started rolling. By morning, their perfect little world would show its first cracks. They figured I was soft, spineless, easy to toss aside. They'd learn how off they were. Downstairs, Anya and Julian kept up their cozy little chat, blind to the mess unraveling ahead. Me, Liam Hayes, the silent coder, the loyal sap, cracked a grim smile in the dark of my office. Quiet time was done. Now it's go time. The next evening, I fixed dinner with laser focus. The kitchen counter was lined with all the fixings for Anya's favorite paella, saffron threads, bomba rice, fresh seafood, and veggies chopped just so. I'd spent years getting this dish down pat, tailoring it to her taste. Didn't miss the twist that this be the last time I'd cook it for her. My phone pinged with a note from my PI. Subject: A and J left the office together. Coming your way. Attached was a pic of Anya and Julian in his Mercedes, her hand parked way too cozy on his thigh as he drove. I slid the phone in my pocket and kept at the cooking, every move sharp and sure. The house filled with the warm smell of saffron and garlic. I'd set the dining table with our best plates, the crystal wine glasses glinting under the chandelier's glow. Right at 7:45, I heard car doors shut outside. 2 sets of footsteps came up to the front door, mixed with hushed talk and muffled laughs. I stayed put in the kitchen, stirring the paella as the door creaked open. "Liam." Anya's voice had a surprised edge. You're home early. I turned to see her in the doorway, rocking a red dress I didn't recognize. Something pricey that screamed Julian style, not hers. Julian Vance loomed behind her, oozing his usual cocky air, one hand planted possessive on her lower back. Thought we could eat together, I said, voice calm as ever. It's been a minute since we've sat down to talk, I said, watching Anya's face twitch between irritation and a fake little pout. Oh, honey, I should have called, she cooed, her tone dripping with crocodile tears. Julian and I had to hash out some last-second launch stuff. We brought the work home. Yeah, I can tell, I replied, my eyes flicking to where Julian's hand rested on her back like he owned her. How about Mr. Vance joins us for dinner? I made extra. Julian flashed a grin, all teeth and swagger. That's real nice of you, Hayes. Smells like a treat in here. We settled into the dining room, a tight knot of tension nobody dared name. I dished out the paella, catching Anya and Julian trading looks over their wine glasses like I wasn't even there. They yapped about Styliverse big launch, numbers, marketing tricks, and some hotshot celebrities they'd roped in. That AI recommendation engine's a game changer, Julian said, his voice smug as he tossed me a bone. Your husband's code's been decent enough for the early stuff, but we'll need real pros once we scale up. Anya bobbed her head, all eager. Julian's already got some top-notch dev teams lined up, guys who've worked with big fashion names. I hear you, I said low, calm as a still pond. So when were you gonna loop me in on this? Oh, darling, Anya laughed, sharp and hollow as a cracked bell. You know I appreciate what you've done, but Styleverse has to grow. We can't lean on one coder forever. Julian's phone buzzed, and he stepped out to the living room to take it. The second he was gone, Anya whipped around to me, her face turning hard as stone. What's your game here? She snarled under her breath. This sad little dinner act. It's embarrassing. I sipped my wine, eyeing her coolly over the glass. Embarrassing to want a meal with my wife? Your wife. Anya's laugh cut deep now. No holding back. Let's get this straight, Liam. You're a rung on my ladder, a handy tool I've outgrown. Julian gets my drive. He's got success, power, thrill, everything you'll never be. And your boyfriend, I said, flat and steady. Her eyes popped wide for a split second before settling into a sneer. Yeah, she shot back, chin high like she dared me to flinch. My lover. Did you honestly think a nobody like you could keep me happy? A code geek riding my coattails. Your coattails. I kept my voice even, though my gaze went cold. The success I built with my code, my math, my all-nighters? Oh, please, Anya scoffed. You're just the hired help, Liam. Julian and I have the real vision, the real juice. You're a joke of a husband, and I'm done faking it. Julian strolled back in, catching the tail end of her rant. He smirked, sliding up behind her chair. Trouble in paradise? No trouble, Anya said, grabbing his hand like a trophy. I was just telling my soon-to-be ex that we're through. Julian and I are a team now. We don't need him anymore. Julian's grin stretched wider. No offense, Hayes. It's just business and love. Well, that goes to the top dog, right? I stood up slow, every move locked in tight. Anya and Julian stiffened a bit, maybe braced for me to yell or sulk. Instead, I just lifted my wine glass in a little mock salute. To the top dog, I said quiet, locking eyes with Anya. Here's hoping you both get what's coming. I set the glass down and walked out, leaving them to their smug little party. Up in my office, I fired up the next chunk of my plan. A few silent commands kicked off, starting the digital storm that'd sink their dreams. By sunrise, Styliverse cash would vanish, investors cut off, their names trashed. And that was just the warm-up. I'd spent months rigging this, setting traps and money bombs to shred everything they cared about, piece by piece. They pegged me as weak, brushed me off as the help. They were dead wrong about the quiet guy at the keyboard. I'm not just some coder. I'm the one who built their rise, and now I'd crafted their fall with the same steady hands. Downstairs, their laughs echoed from the dining room, wine glugging into glasses, voices loud with big plans. I grinned in the dark of my office. Let em laugh. Let em gloat. Come morning, their world would start cracking, and they'd figure out betrayal's got a tab they can't cover. The quiet coder was history. Now it's just me, cold, sharp, and ready to show him the silent ones hit hardest. I moved through the dark house with a clear head, grabbing the gear I'd stashed days back. I stuffed my laptop, some external drives with key backups, and a handful of clothes into a bag I'd prepped earlier. Back in my home office, I triggered a wipe on my desktop, scrubbing every hint of what I'd been up to lately. Downstairs, Anya and Julian's party kept going strong, their voices getting rowdier with every gulp of wine. Their laughs used to sting, but now they just stoked my fire. Every chuckle, every flirty whisper, every little jab they tossed out hardened my grit. I pulled up my laptop one last time, linking to a secret server I'd set up months back. The screen lit up with a maze of trackers, money flows, email grabs, and data snares, all zeroed in on Styleverse, Julian's fancy empire, and their private chats. "You ought to see this, Hayes," Julian's voice boomed up the stairs. "Your wife's a real star when she quits faking she gives a darn about you." More cackling. Anya's tone dropped low but cut clear. "Julian, you're awful, darling." Spot on, though. It's such a rush to finally spit the truth. My fingers danced over the keys, kicking off the first chunk of my payback. I built this thing to roll out in waves, each hit timed to gut, aim hard while keeping my tracks covered. Step 1 went after Styleverse cash lines, snipping ties and shuffling funds through a tangle nobody trace. My phone pinged soft, letting me know it was live. In under 8 hours, their digital castle'd start to topple. But I wasn't done yet. I flipped to another tool, this one locked on Julian's personal stash and shady deals. That slick venture guy's big shot image hid a mess of crooked moves and fudged books. I'd spent months charting it all, pinpointing weak spots and planting traps that'd blow up when I said so. I stood up, slung my bag over my shoulder, and gave the office one last scan, the same spot where I'd burned midnight oil building their dream, now flipped to fuel their nightmare. "Ain't that a kicker?" From below, glass shattered. Then Anya yelped, followed by Julian's deep chuckle. "Don't sweat the mess, darling," he said. "We'll pay someone to mop it up. That's what cash is for, right?" I crept down the hall, passing the bedroom I'd shared with Anya for 7 years. Through the door, I spotted her new life piling up, fancy threads I didn't recognize, glitzy jewelry I never bought, signs she'd been carving me out for a while. I stopped at the stairs, tuned to their chatter. "When do we clue the board in on the shakeup?" Anya asked, her voice thick with wine and smugness. Julian's answer oozed confidence. "Post-launch, once the extra funds are locked. We'll overhaul the dev crew then. Your husband's code's fine for now, but we need pros to push Styleverse higher." "He's been handy," Anya said, brushing me off like lint. "But come on, Julian, the way he mopes around, always kissing up, dying to help? It's pathetic. You should see him at events, lurking in corners, barely talking, like some coder could grasp our big picture." "Per little geek," Julian mocked. "We'll ease him out nice, a decent payout. Maybe. Though with your prenup, he's got no room to whine." Their laughs tangled up again, bouncing through the house. I eased down the stairs, silent as a shadow, slipping past the kitchen where they sat surrounded by empty bottles and the paella scraps I'd cooked. They didn't clock me, too wrapped up in their big win. I ducked out the side door, shutting it without a peep. The night air hit my face, crisp and cool, as I hoofed it to my car, parked a block off like I'd planned. Inside, I cracked my laptop again, tapping into the home security I'd tweaked weeks back. On screen, Anya and Julian were tangled up in the kitchen, their party turning hotter by the second. I kept my face blank and hit record, every nasty word, every slimy move, all locked down for later. They thought they were toasting a triumph, not filming their own crash. I fired up the engine and peeled out, away from that house, away from the life I'd patched together with Anya, away from the happy mask I'd worn too long. I was headed for a little hideout I'd rented months ago under a fake name, cash up front, off everyone's radar. The place was bare bones but did the trick, loaded with all I needed to pull this off. A bunch of screens glowed with live feeds, trackers, systems, surveillance, all humming along. Here, in this nobody-knows spot, I'd run their downfall with the same sharp focus I'd poured into code. I sank into my chair, tweaking the setup, and let myself chew on it all for a sec. The old me, the quiet, doting husband, was long gone, swapped out for something sharper, meaner. They'd taken my silence for a pushover, my steady patience for a doormat. That slip-up was about to cost him everything. My phone buzzed, Anya trying to poke into our joint account. She'd see it looking normal for now, clueless about the money mess I'd rigged for Dawn. Another buzz showed Julian firing off a late-night email to his investors, stuffed with hot air and big talk that'd soon flop flat as lies. I started tapping away, fingers sliding over the keys with the ease of a guy who's done this a million times, setting up the next chunk of my plan. On one screen, Styliver's code rolled by my code, my baby, now turned into a blade. Another screen spilled Julian's money secrets, every deal a ticking bomb I could set off whenever. They thought they had me pegged. Thought they knew my limits. By sunrise, they'd start figuring out how bad they'd misjudge me. The quiet coder was history. Now I'm a shadow pulling strings, a patient hunter ready to pounce. As night thickened, I kept at it, every click nudging me closer to the finish line. Out there, the city snoozed, blind to the fact that in this plain little room, I was spinning a revenge tune that'd flip lives and torch empires. Their first act was wrapping up. Tomorrow'd kick off their bad dream. But for now, I worked quiet, screens glowing on my face, brain locked on what's next. No more waiting around. Payback time had started. Styliver's crash slammed the tech in fashion seems like a cyber grenade. Just hours after the funds vanished, big tech blogs were churning out hot takes on the company's nosedive. Investors who'd been all in days ago wouldn't even pick up for Anya or Julian now. Up in her swanky penthouse, Anya stalked back and forth, phone glued to her ear, scrambling to find anyone who'd bail out her sinking ship. All that slick furniture and artsy junk she'd bragged about felt like leftovers from a party that had just got shut down. "What do you mean you can't track the transfers?" she barked into the phone. "I'm paying you to sort this mess." The IT guy sighed on the other end. "Mrs. Hayes, these moves ran through some ghost tricks. Whoever pulled this knew their stuff cold. The cash is toast." "Then find Liam," she snapped, voice splintering. "He's got to be the one. We've tried. Your husband's gone dark, work email's dead, social's wiped, phone cut off. He's playing at a level that's downright slick." Anya hung up and chucked her phone across the room. It smashed against the wall, cracking another piece of her falling apart life. It buzzed again, a reporter fishing for dirt on Styliver's flop. She ignored it. The intercom chimed. "Miss Hayes, delivery for you." Soon, she was staring at a fat envelope on her coffee table. Inside were divorce papers, laid out neat and ready for her to sign. Tucked in was a note in my tight handwriting. "You said I rode your success. Let's see how you hold up without mine." Her shaky hands dialed Julian's office. His secretary's voice was ice. "Mr. Vance isn't taking calls right now." Panicked, Anya hit up my pals, starting with David Chin, a senior dev who'd been my wingman for years. "Please, David," she pleaded. "I just need to talk to him." "Like you talked to him the night you trashed his world?" David's tone oozed disgust. "You called him nothing, Anya. Ripped him apart in his own house while your boyfriend grinned. Did you think we wouldn't hear about it?" "You don't get it." "Oh, I get it fine." He cut her off. "Liam sent me the security tape. The whole tech crew's seen the real you. Don't ring me again." One by one, my buddies shut her down the same way. I stood still, staring at the burnt mess that was supposed to be my breakfast. At 42, I wasn't loaded, but I'd carved out a solid gig as a senior software guy at TechCore Solutions. My real grind, though, went down after dark. Every no peeled off another chunk of her polished mask. The gal who'd lived for her connections was getting boxed out fast. Grasping at straws, she dug up my mom's number, Margaret Hayes. Mom had always been sweet to her, folded her into the family like she belonged. Surely she'd bite. "Margaret? It's Anya. I need you to help me find Liam." I heard Anya plead over the phone to my mom. A heavy silence hung there before Mom's voice came back, loaded with a gravity Anya'd never caught before. "I saw my boy throw his whole heart into propping up your dreams, Anya. He ran himself ragged building your outfit while you cozied up to some other guy. Please, I can explain. Can you explain calling my son trash?" Mom cut in. "Can you talk your way out of laughing at him in his own house? That security tape don't lie, Anya. Margaret, I'm begging you. I'm at the end of my rope." "I've been there too," Mom said soft, back when my husband passed and I had zilch. Liam watched me claw my way up from nothing. He learned early the world don't coddle the frail. You taught him that same hard truth all over again. Only now, he's the one holding the reins. What are you getting at? I'm saying you dug this hole, Anya. Now you sleep in it. By yourself. The line clicked dead, leaving Anya stranded in her fancy penthouse, circled by all that shiny junk turning to dust. Her phone buzzed again, another reporter, another investor bailing, another chunk of her life peeling off. She flipped open her laptop, fishing for anything to save from Styleverse systems. All she got was a big, access denied, staring back, with lines of code wiping out every bit she built. From my dark corner, I watched through the sneaky backdoors I'd stuck in her setup, tracking her frantic stabs at saving her kingdom, clocking every call that flopped and every plea that got shot down. The quiet coder she'd shrugged off was now the guy boxing her in, and I wasn't close to done. Julian Vance's ritzy office downtown always screamed power and win. Today, that mask was splitting. The big-shot venture guy paced behind his fancy desk, phone jammed to his ear as another investor dumped him. This is just a hiccup, Julian pushed, his slick charm wobbling. Styleverse was 1 gig ill. Your track record's shaky at best, the investor snapped back. We've got weird intel on your old deals, Julian. The math's off. Until this clears, we're out. What intel? Who's feeding it? The call cut off. Julian slammed the phone down, his cool slipping fast. His computer pinged with fresh emails, more investors jumping ship, more digs at his money moves, more cracks splitting his base. Mr. Vance? His secretary's voice crackled through the intercom. Miss Hayes is back. Julian's jaw tightened. Tell her to beat it. She's real pushy. The door flew open, and Anya barged in, her designer get-up creased, makeup smudged, the polished gal from weeks ago fading into a mess. We've got to figure this out, she demanded. It's all crashing down. Julian's laugh came out rough. We? There's no we left, Anya. Your startup's toast, my investors are bolting, and somehow your brainiac husband's pulling the strings. It's not just Styleverse, Anya said, voice quaking. Haven't you seen it? The whispers about your past gigs, the tip-offs to your backers, the leaked messages, it's all him. No way. He's just some coder. A coder who built our whole backbone. She shot back, raking her hands through her hair, messing its perfect lines. He had his hands on everything. He's not just tanking Styleverse, he's picking apart all we made. Julian's computer chirped again. His face went white as he scanned the screen. No. 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 What now? The Richardson deal. Every file's gone. Wiped from our locked servers. He hammered the keys, chasing backups. All blocked. How do you even get in here? Because I let him in, Anya muttered, back when we needed Styleverse security set up. I told him to copy your company's layout. Julian's face twisted with fury. He grabbed her arm hard. You dumb move. You handed him the keys to it all. Let go. Anya yanked free. You swore we'd be untouchable together. Look at us now. Us. Julian sneered. You're a dead weight, dragging me down with your busted startup and your ticked-off husband. My busted startup, she fired back. You were all grins taking the credit when it was rolling hot, claiming my husband's work like it was your genius. Julian's laugh turned nasty. Your husband? The same, worthless, guy you couldn't wait to ditch? Let's keep it real, Anya. You played him just like you tried to play me. I didn't. You did. And now we're both eating it. He spun back to his computer, waving her off. Get out of my office. We're through. Julian, wait. Security. He barked. Get Miss Hayes out. And don't let her back in. As security hauled her out, Anya caught a quick peek at Julian's screen, code streaming down, picking his digital kingdom apart line by line. Right then, it hit her. She'd way underestimated what I could do, and just how deep my payback ran. That night, Julian slumped in his dark office, surrounded by the ruins of his big-shot life. His phone wouldn't quit, investors yelling for answers, partners bailing on deals, reporters digging into the shady corners of his old gigs. His computer pinged one last time. An email popped up, no sender name, just a single line. You figured he was just a coder. Guess again. Attached were files spilling years of his dirty tricks, fake reports, crooked deals, all the slime he hid under his glossy shell. It was CC to the SEC, his backers, and every big money news outlet. From my tucked-away spot, I kept tabs on the mess through a wall of screens. One showed Anya getting marched out of Julian's building. Another caught Julian scrambling to patch up his sinking ship. A third tracked their systems falling apart, piece by piece. I boxed Im and Perfect. Those two ex-lovebirds were turning on each other now, their little team cracking under the weight of their own double-cross. Anya's frantic calls went nowhere. Julian's stabs at saving face got cold shoulders. The quiet coder they'd laughed off was running the show now, yanking strings they didn't even know I had. And I wasn't close to wrapping it up. My little hideout buzzed with computers churning through heavy ops. I sat at the helm, watching Julian and Anya's worlds burn systematic-like. One screen laid bare the truth of Julian's success, a flimsy stack of lies and scams. Another showed Anya clawing at her rep, flailing in real time. Then a ping, an email from Mom, Margaret. She's the only one in this mess who really got what I could pull off. Her note was short. You sure this is the road you want? My mind slipped back to when I was a kid, to the hard knocks that made me who I am. I could still see myself at 12, standing in our kitchen, watching Mom sob over late bills after Dad died. Daniel Hayes was a straight shooter, a machinist who lived for honest sweat and fair shakes. The company he'd given 20 years to tossed him out like junk, blaming cuts, while the bosses pocketed bonuses. He got killed in a crash heading to another job interview. The insurance folks dug up some loophole to dodge paying, leaving Mom and me with nothing but bills and busted hopes. I could hear Mom's voice in my head. Life ain't fair, Liam, but we don't let it smash us. She built us back up from scratch, a little bakery that grew into something solid. I'd watched her pull 18-hour shifts, haggle with suppliers and banks, turn tough breaks into wins. But I picked up another trick too, lurking in the shadows while slick lawyers shredded our claim. Knowledge was the real muscle, and in this wire-up world, it lived in machines. While other kids messed with games, I dug into code, languages, networks, system guts. You're hooked, my high school counselor used to say. There's more to life than screens. But I got it. Whoever ran the digital show ran everything. I burnt nights and weekends sharpening my chops, building tools nobody else could wrap their heads around. By the time I met Anya at that tech meetup, I was already top tier. She'd liked my low-key vibe, my brainy quiet, or so I'd thought. I could still picture her coming up to me after my AI talk, all spark and hustle. Your stuff's amazing, she'd said. I've got this fashion tech idea. I fell hard, pouring everything into making her dream real. Even when she got cold, pushy, I stuck by her, Mom's lessons of loyalty and grit keeping me there. Now those same roots were screaming for what's right. My phone buzzed, another note from Mom. I saw what it did to your dad, watching his world turn to dust. Make sure this is justice, not just settling scores. My fingers slid over the keys, kicking off the next wave. On my screens, Julian's money empire kept tanking. Anya's wild swings at saving her name hit the walls I'd built. Dad taught me never to be helpless. Mom showed me never to look weak. Now I'd show Anya and Julian what betrayal really costs. That quiet coder they'd brushed off? Gone. In his place was me, a digital hunter, cool and exact, turning their own tools against him. All those skills I'd sharpened over years were my ammo now in a fight they didn't even see coming. My phone pinged, Julian clawing at some offshore stash for emergency cash. My fingers zipped over the keys, and poof, that money vanished into a black hole nobody'd trace. I'd scoped out his whole money web months back, rigging traps and switches everywhere. On another screen, Anya's latest email to some big-shot investors got spat back, undelivered. I tweaked her contacts just enough, funneling her begs for help into a dead-end void. Dad's crash taught me to grab the wheel. Mom's backbone showed me how to climb from nothing. Now I'd make sure those two backstabbers got the same hard lesson. I tapped out a reply to Mom. This ain't revenge. It's what happens when you cross me. The computers purred along as another chunk of their world turned to digital ash. The quiet coder was their wrecking ball now, and I had plenty left to swing. In my little hideout, I punched in the last commands to cap this thing off. Screens glowed with the wreckage of Julian and Anya's lives, trashed reps, empty banks, busted ties. But that wasn't the endgame. They'd humiliated me quiet-like, Now they'd taste it loud in public, right where it'd sting most. I typed up some fancy invites, smooth, tempting, promising a fresh start. You're warmly welcome to an exclusive networking night at Blackwood Manor, where yesterday meets tomorrow's wins. I fired him off through dummy companies and fake emails, hitting Julian's old investors, Anya's contacts, and the tech fashion crowd. I knew their desperation would drag him there, chasing any shot to crawl out of the hole. My phone buzzed, a note from my PI. Both got the invites. They're calling around, sniffing for proof it's real. I flipped to my feeds. Anya, holed up in a plain little apartment now, gripped the invite like it was gold. No more designer threads, just cheap clothes screaming her fall. She was on the phone, voice shaky but clinging to hope. Yeah, I got the invite. I know you're worried, but this could be our redo. The host checks out. They're linking broke founders with new money. Over in his office, Julian hunched over the same invite. His slick setup was fraying empty bottles on the desk, papers all over. He snapped into his phone. Figure out who's running this. I don't care how, just get it. This might be our last grab at something. I switched screens, eyeballing Blackwood Manor's setup. I'd snagged the place through a tangle of shell companies, no trail back to me. The fixes were done. Hidden cameras everywhere, a slick sound system, big screens tucked behind fancy curtains. My hired crew, nabbed through back channels, pinged me. Tech was locked and loaded, projectors, audio, and a control nook overlooking the ballroom. An auto alert popped up. Targets burning last cash to gear up for this. Odds they show, 98%. I let a little grin slip, scanning the dirt I'd piled up, emails of Anya and Julian scheming against me, home security clips of M trashing my work, money trails showing how they tried to shove me out of Styliverse wins. I'd mashed it into a killer slideshow. No hushed leaks or rumors, this truth blast out on giant screens right in front of the bigwigs they'd hustle to wow. Mom's latest text lit up my phone. You sure this is your road? I tapped back. They picked it when they stabbed me in the back. Now they deal with it. I double-checked every piece, masked for the masquerade, adding a sweet twist of irony. Faces hid till the big reveal. Security had their orders. Systems were primed. Out there, Anya and Julian were getting ready, thinking this was their big comeback shot. They had no clue their supposed lifeline was really their executioner, or that this networking gig was their last fall. Everything was lined up. The snare was ready. All I had to do was wait for them to stroll right into their own doom. Blackwood Manor buzzed as folks rolled in, decked out in their best gear. Fancy masks hid every face, stirring up a vibe of secrets and what-ifs. The big ballroom glowed under crystal lights, while my hidden cameras caught it all. Up in my control nook, I watched through screens as Julian strutted in. His pricey suit couldn't mask how far he'd slipped. His gold mask was a laugh, considering his shiny front was already peeling. Anya showed up a bit later, rocking a borrowed dress. I'd seen it in her frantic email to some old-fashioned buddy. Her silver mask didn't hide the twitchy way she scoped the room for a savior. Start phase 1, I ordered through my lockdown comms. The speakers kicked on with soft tunes, and servers wove through with bubbly. On my screens, I saw them both working the crowd, Julian and Anya tossing out charm that landed flat as old soda. Julian sidled up to some investors, his voice puffed with fake swagger. Styleverse was a fluke, sure, but I'm cooking up fresh wins already. The investors swapped looks. One piped up, actually, Julian, we've been meaning to chat about some odd stuff our number crunchers found in your old deals. Before he could squirm out, the music dipped. The lights softened, and panels in the walls slid back, showing off huge screens. Ladies and gents, a tweaked voice boomed. Welcome to tonight's main show. The screens lit up with emails, months of Anya and Julian's trash talk about me, their scheme to shove me out, their snide jabs at what I'd done. The room sucked in a collective breath as the dirt piled high. Clips rolled, office makeouts, their plotting, the cold-blooded stab in my back. Money trails flashed up, laying out Julian's scams and Anya's eager tag-along role. Holy, someone muttered. They had this cooked from the jump. Anya staggered back, her mask slipping. This isn't. We didn't mean. The screens flipped to audio. Julian's voice blasted out. Once we've gutted the company, we'll pin it on Hayes screw-ups. Nobody digs into the tech grunts when stuff tanks. Then Anya, all venom. Liam's such a sap. Thinks I love him. As if I'd respect some code monkey. Folks started yanking off masks, gawking at the unmasked duo. Julian tried to hold it together. This is fake, he yelled. Someone's out to ruin us. No fake here. My real voice cut through the speakers. Just your truth. Plain as day. The biggest screen rolled new clips, Julian throwing Anya under the bus lately, brushing off her begs for help. Anya spinning lies about us both to save her skin. Check it out, I went on. How fast backstabbers flip when their hustle flops. More proof flooded in emails, recordings, cache logs, stripping their shiny shells bare. Julian lunged at a screen. Turn this off. I'm telling you, stop it. Security popped up, pinning him down smooth and quick. Anya dropped to her knees, mask clanking on the floor as her patched-up world fell apart again. Who are you? She wailed. Why? The screens went blank for a sec. Then my face popped up, calm, stone cold. You know me, I said flat. The worthless nobody who built the tech you tried to swipe. The quiet coder you figured you could ditch. The husband you sold out. Julian thrashed against the guards. Hayes, you miserable. I let out a sharp, icy laugh. Take a peek around, Julian. See what this miserable coder pulled off. Your empire's toast. Your rep shredded. Your partner's a wreck on the floor. Who's the sad case now? The screen started flashing headlines. Styliverse crash, Julian's frauds, their fling now with all my proof tacked on, killing any shot at a comeback. This is already out to reporters, regulators, and the cops, I told him. Tonight's public smackdown's just the opener. Guests peeled out, muttering in disgust. Old pals turned away. Would-be backers shook their heads, grossed out. You've ruined us, Anya breathed out. Nah, I shot back. You trashed yourselves. I didn't ruin you. I just made sure you couldn't duck the fallout. The masquerade's aftermath played out like I'd drawn it up. News outlets went wild with the tale, the steamy fling, the money scams, the cold-blooded backstab, all capped with that big reveal. Clips from the night bounced around online, Julian raging, Anya crumpling, pure gold. Up in my control hub, I kept tabs on the mess through my feeds. Julian stomped around his empty office, phone jammed to his ear, scrambling to stop the unstoppable. You can't run that. He yelled at some reporter on the line. I'll sue you. What do you mean you've got proof? Who sent it? Hayes, that no-good code jockey. Click, dead air. I flipped the feed. Anya hunched in her apartment, hemmed in by stacks of news printouts and social media burns. Her phone wouldn't quit buzzing, old pals and work buddies cutting her loose, one by one. Please, she begged into it. Margaret, you've got to get me to him. I'll do whatever it takes. Hello? Margaret. Mom had already laid it out. No handouts, no do-overs. They'd feel every ounce of what they'd picked. My computer pinged with fresh hits. Julian's last investors bailed for good. Fed sniffing around his shady deals. Anya's job hunts hitting brick walls fast. A note from my legal crew popped up. Divorce papers done. Assets locked down as planned. Another from my money guys. Target accounts iced. Stolen cash back where it belongs. I patched into the mansion speakers one last time. Time for the finishing touch, I said, my voice booming into their separate worlds. I gave you both an out, simple divorce papers to call it quits. But you kept digging your hole. Julian froze mid-step. Hayes? How are you? What? You thought I didn't have backups? I cut in. Plans on plans? Ways to make you own your mess? I built our whole digital backbone, me, the worthless, quiet coder you laughed off. Liam, please, Anya's voice wobbled. No more, please, I snapped. No more games. You're living with what you chose. All that success, that rep, that pride you tried to snatch from me? I've yanked it right back. Difference is, I made it stick. You'll pay for this, Julian growled, but it was feeble. I let out a frosty chuckle. Big talk from a busted man. Peek at your accounts, Julian, your contacts, your next moves. All dust. Forever. I flipped to Anya's line. You said I was nothing without you. Now you get to be nothing without me. Her sob got snipped as I cut the feed. On my screens, their twin meltdowns synced up perfect. The hotshot VC fuming uselessly, the go-getter fashion gal staring down a future of shut doors and cold shoulders. I punched in my last commands. Digital lock snapped tight. Evidence stashed safe if I needed it later. Ghost account shut down. No breadcrumbs back to me. The web I'd spun to snag him unraveled. Job done. I stood up, stretching out the kinks from hours of running this win. The quiet coder was long gone. Now I was the guy who delivered payback with a steady hand, showing him what happens when you cross me. They learned their lesson, sure, but bigger than that, they'd shown the world what I'm made of. One screen flashed their final text swap. Julian, this is on you. You let him in our systems. Anya? My fault? You swore you'd cover me. Look at us now. Julian, we're through. Don't hit me up. Anya. Julian, wait, we can. Undelivered. I cracked a grin. They'd pegged me as soft, scoffed at what I could do, sneered at my steady grind. Now they got it. The real threats are the ones you don't spot, till it's too late. The silent types who hit not with noise, but with cold, dead-on precision. I shut my laptop, grabbed my coat, and stepped out of the control room. Behind me, screens kept rolling their wrecked lives. The snake had bitten, its poison sank deep, and they'd never bounce back. They were half right once. I wasn't just a quiet coder. I'm the guy who builds you up or tears you down with a few keystrokes. And I'd proved, no question, that betrayals got a tab they couldn't settle. The curtain was down. Their crash would echo as a heads-up to anybody else. Don't sleep on the quiet ones. Don't confuse quiet for weak. And never, ever double-cross someone who can flip your whole world with a line of code. 5 years down the line, I sat in my glass-walled office on the 42nd floor of the Hayes Technology Tower, eyeballing the city skyline stretching out below. At 47, I was flipping through quarterly stats on my latest AI gig at my desk. Time had chiseled my face some, with a few streaks of gray creeping into my dark hair. Classy, if I do say so. Success polished me up, but that icy, figuring look in my eyes? Still there, same as ever. A ping hit my screen. Another write-up on Julian Vance's prison gig finally locking in. The old venture hotshot had caught the hammer for his decades of money games, all thanks to the dominoes I'd tipped 5 years back. The feds dug up a lifetime of shady moves, slapping him with 15 years behind bars. Mr. Hayes, my assistant buzzed through the intercom. Your mom's here for lunch. Mom? Margaret Hayes strolled in, toting a box from her bakery. At 70, she still kept a hand in the biz she'd built from scratch, though she'd handed most of the day-to-day to folks she trusted. That little shop had bloomed into a solid chain, propped up by some smart cash I'd funneled her way. Still grinding too hard? She asked, plopping down the box, my favorite pastries inside. Somebody's gotta. I shot back, cracking a real grin. One of the rare ones I let loose. How's the new spots holding up? They're humming along, she said, eyeing me close. Though I reckon Hayes Tech's muscle helps with the bankrolling. She paused, then went on. Caught the news on Julian Vance. Justice rolls slow, I said, voice flat. But it rolls sure. She gave a little nod. And Anya? Anything on her? I keep tabs, I replied. Her job hunts fizzled out as pitches hit dead air, and anybody who might have teamed up with her bailed quiet like. The fashion tech crowd that used to cheer her on acted like she was a ghost now. The tech world shifted too, with Hayes Tech looming in the background. Companies started thinking twice before screwing over their coders. Investment outfits got antsy about deals that tossed tech brains for fast bucks. A new vibe took root, pushed by the quiet power of the folks behind the screens. The Styleverse flop and all that came after turned into a hush tale in tech land. Not many knew the whole deal, but everybody got the point. The quiet ones weren't helpless anymore. They had me now, somebody who saw their worth and made sure they stayed safe. Up in my tower, I kept building, stretching my reach while sticking to my own company. That betrayal could have sunk me, but instead, it sparked something new, a push for what's right in a game that had ignored it too long. The quiet coder didn't just rewrite my tale, he flipped the script for a whole industry. And out there in the digital dark, I stayed watchful, making sure anybody dumb enough to step on others paid the price. The end? Nah, it was just the start.